Hey everybody, this is Robert People of robertpeople.com and you're listening to People's Court. Thanks for joining me. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at People's Court 79. Again, People's Court 79 on Instagram and Twitter. It is Monday, November 26, 2018, and by now we all know what took place yesterday at the U.S.-Mexico border near San Diego. U.S. authorities closed off the busiest port of entry along the U.S. border with Mexico on Sunday, of course, and fired tear gas at members of a Central American migrant caravan who had rushed the fencing that separates the countries. Now, by now, we've all weighed in, the news media's weighed in, and I'm going to start with Congresswoman-elect Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and a tweet she posted not too long ago. She says, "What if, instead of sending 5,000 troops to the border, we had sent 5,000 caseworkers to review and process visa applications? In addition to averting moral crisis, it also would have saved enormous amounts of resources." Now, that's a good question. That's a very good question. Now, I know, and I've seen, and I've read, and I've done all this and that to find out exactly where everybody stands on the issue, and nothing really surprised me. If you support the president, then that means you support any and all harm brought to the innocent people of this caravan, this group of people coming up. There's even a picture of a woman trying to rush her children away from a tear gas canister that went off. You're okay with that? There was even an instance, I'm not sure when this was, but it wasn't too long ago, where a Border Patrol agent in Arizona fired shots over the border and killed a 16-year-old boy. You're okay with that too? I don't remember hearing that in the news, and I think for the most part, again, if you support this president and all his nonsense, you're not going to be too concerned about that. But I haven't read to see if anyone responded to Ms. Ocasio-Cortez's tweets, but again, very good question. We also can't forget what happened in California not too long ago, okay, that they just put out. These fires, these wildfires that not only displaced a lot of people are still missing, but absolutely destroyed homes. These homes don't exist anymore. Cities were practically wiped off the map. Now, we could also have sent, I don't know, whatever percentage of those troops to assist in putting those fires out. Now, I understand that a lot of prison inmates were used to do that, but we could have done that as well. Now, it's no secret that the troops were sent to the border to stop this supposedly so-called invasion that the president addresses it as, for no reason but a political stunt. This was all done and started prior to the midterm elections, and shortly afterwards, soldiers were pulled back. Now, this, of course, is after they've already missed Thanksgiving, and the soldiers who are there now potentially could miss Christmas as well. Now, some of those soldiers could have been used in California or elsewhere. But also, let's go back to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's question. If we know that these soldiers that this caravan is coming here, which we did. This is not surprising to anybody, okay? Nobody is shocked. This has been in the news, especially before the midterm elections. We heard about this constantly, and everybody, the same ones again, who called everyone snowflakes. Yeah, remember that? The same ones who did that are all of a sudden afraid and scared to death of primarily women and children coming up here. So we knew this was going to take place, so we need to take action. Now, if we had time to deploy thousands of soldiers to the border, and as a retired soldier myself, I know the process and how long it takes to do this and what exactly it takes to make something like this happen. Now, we had the time to do that. I'm positive we had plenty of time to do exactly what she states here, and says, okay, rather than sending military forces there, rather than hyping the country up and thinking that we're going to be invaded, that people are going to come here to kill us, to steal, to commit crime, and do all that other nonsense. If we're able to get the soldiers there, we could have easily sent these caseworkers. I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't have mind volunteering. I know my fiance and I would have wanted to do that, to go and help get these applications through a little quicker. I'm not entirely sure of what the whole asylum process is. It's messy. It's slow. There are people who have been waiting for several months in some cases just to get their cases get their cases heard for the first time. So that would have helped. That would have put us in a lot better position than we are right now. So why are we not doing that? Now, I can give you my answer. Well, actually, I will give you my answer. Because quite frankly, we as Americans don't care. Too many of us don't care. The asylum process means they have a right to come here. Means they have a right to come here legally and seek asylum. That's how it goes. They have to be here in order to do that. Now, you would never think that anybody in this group of people was doing this the way people are speaking about this. Okay? We have people in the media, I won't mention any names, we have people in the media who are celebrating the fact that women and children were hit with tear gas. That's embarrassing. That is shameful. They're celebrating this. They're saying things like, this was the highlight of my week. We're celebrating the fact we can't even as a country be smart enough. I don't know why I'm expecting it, but we can't even be smart enough, mature enough, compassionate enough, show enough empathy to say, yes, let's get the ones doing wrong, but let's show some type of love, some type of Christian-like behavior. Yes, let's go there. Christian-like behavior to the ones who aren't doing the wrong thing. Because, of course, we shouldn't put everybody in the same boat, right? Because, of course, nobody's doing that. But let's show that. And earlier, when I mentioned to someone those pictures, or at least the one picture, there's the one scene of the mother taking her children away from a tear gas canister that went off. It was responded. Apparently, there's another picture going around where people are circling and writing text all on it, saying that it was set up, that wasn't real, and all this and all that. Now, of course, that's going to come. I'm not going to put too much energy in that. But this is how we treat those who are coming here to seek asylum. And I'm still confused on why it is so hard for people to understand why folks want to do this in the first place. Now, granted, the people who are doing wrong, who are rushing the border, who are trying to get in here illegally and do all this, of course, that's there. Nobody's denying that those people exist. But let's talk about the ones who aren't trying to do that. Let's talk about all the interviews we've seen and heard from people who say, look, I don't support that at all. I'm trying to do this the right way. Let's talk about them, because we're keeping quiet on exactly where they are in this whole thing. We're just putting them in the same group as everybody else, which is interesting because when we have mass shootings up here, we know the group that primarily is suspect from that, right? As far as who does those. So it's interesting when we dare try to make that a white male thing, even though that's primarily who does it. What we get back is, oh, don't put us all together. Don't stereotype us like that. Basically, everything that you're doing right now to these people coming up here, that's what you say not to do whenever mass shootings take place. If that's happening in our own country, random spots, doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat, that's happening right here. We're not supposed to do that, though. But these people who are coming and at worst throwing rocks at us, throwing rocks and bottles at agents who have protective gear on, these rocks and bottles aren't hurting them. And there are enough people there to keep it under control, because that's exactly why the border was opened up as quickly as it was, because they got it under control relatively quickly. That's not the same as making an excuse that it happened or excusing those who did this. But again, let's not make this like it's a war, because it's not. We were able to get it under control. So why are we not doing more to expedite as best as we can? I know it's not an overnight thing, but to expedite this process, to review applications. There's all kinds of ways to do it. And like Ocasio-Cortez said, we would have saved resources. Soldiers would be home for Thanksgiving. Either home for Thanksgiving or their time would have been better served elsewhere, a la California, or further up North California, rather, to help people during these wildfires, to help put these fires out, or anywhere else. So, again, here we go with this whole deal as far as making this Migrant Caravan about 100, making this about them all being criminals, about them all coming here to harm us, when many of them are simply trying to do what is legal for them to do. Now, in all this time, we got all this talk about a wall being built. We got all this talk about everything that's going to happen once they get here. Why has no one taken a step to try to improve the process in which people are doing this? And I'm still on that. And I actually contacted someone a few weeks ago. I can't remember exactly where, but it was a Border Patrol agent. I believe their office was in Austin. I contacted them to ask if there was some way that if someone wanted to volunteer to help out with migrants coming across the border, what would the process be? Where would we start? And he gave a response in the neighborhood of, well, it wouldn't be us because we're trying to keep them out. Now, I don't know what context he meant that in, but if they're coming to seek asylum, guess what? You are not supposed to just quote unquote keep them out. I'm not talking about the ones trying to hurt us. I specifically asked if we're trying to help as far as processing applications and things like that. And I can't remember exactly what I said, but that's the thought process. That's the mindset, is we're just trying to keep them out. And that's, quite frankly, what a lot of, far too many, that's what Americans want. It's about keeping them out. Now, we hear a lot about everybody who's going to do wrong when they get here. But what's the process? How often are we going to encourage them to do what's right once they get here? How is it, and I'm curious about this, how has the process changed, the asylum process changed? Let's just take this random point. Since Donald Trump took office, has that improved any? We've been hearing a lot about this wall, and now and that's another episode entirely, but he last said that he's going to threaten to shut the government down unless we do something about this wall. I will leave it at that. But what has been done to actually help the process along to where people can be processed faster? What's going on when they get here? How about what's going on with the families that have been separated? Oh, thought we forgot about that one, right? Yeah, families are still separated. Children are still separated from their parents. I want to know what's happened since Trump has taken office that has improved that process. Because in all this time, and with everything that's happening, I can tell you right now that I'm pretty sure with everything that needs to take place, improving this process, the same way Ocasio-Cortez mentioned, as far as getting more caseworkers to review and process applications and so forth, I'm pretty sure that's probably easy compared to everything else that needs to happen. And again, my fiance and I, we are more than happy to volunteer if we need to. And I'm sure there's other people like that as well. Thank y'all for listening. This is Robert People of robertpeople.com. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, People's Court 79. I'll see you next time.